All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. This is Dave Stroy with the Brunswick Historical Society. It's a beautiful day to be inside, isn't it? It's almost like the summer's back, though. Before I kick off, I'd like to thank the library for allowing us to use this space here to hold our talks, our monthly talks, and also want to acknowledge that this is the traditional homeland of the Little Stookway people. So I want to welcome Mr. Greene back with some more stories with the Great St. John Fire. Everybody's here to hear him, not me, so I'll get off the stage and let him take over. Thanks, Peter. I appreciate it. I know.
Okay, thanks, Troy. Can everyone hear me well? Well enough? Okay, excellent. Okay, so what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to do some time traveling. So is everyone up for this? Okay, so we're going to get in our time machine. What will this time machine be? Well, it's going to be this room. So it's nice and roomy. It's not like most time machines you see on TV. But we're going to do some traveling back in time. And where are we going to go back in time? Well, the first stop we're going to go to is this, 146 years ago. So this is the Great St. John Fire of 1877. And I find this mind-blowing myself, is that this was the worst urban fire in North American, 19th century North American history. Okay, and you know, I talk to friends out west. I live in Edmonton. I'm so sorry. and I apologize for Alberta right now. I feel I have to. Okay, but so I talk to friends and I talk about like fires, North American fires, and they go, yeah, have you heard of the Great Chicago Fire? They go, oh yeah, absolutely, I heard of that. Great Boston Fire? Oh yeah, the Great Boston Fire. Great St. John Fire? St. John's is what they first said. Are those still fighting words in St. John? Thank you. Yes, okay, some things have never changed, okay? But this was proportionally the worst fire in 19th century North America. So it killed 19 people at least, and we'll explore that in a bit about the actual death count on this. 200 acres, 16 kilometers of streets, 600 homes, 1,500 commercial buildings, 13 churches, 14 hotels. This destroyed, like, think about the entire uptown St. John. Like, just think about it from here all the way down, destroyed. We're going to live through this. So this is the theme of today's presentation, is surviving the Great St. John Fire. So we're going to live through this. Or not. I think we will. Probably will. Might. But it's up to you. It's up to you, because it's all about choices that people made at the time, whether they survived this thing or they did not survive this thing. So we're going to explore and see what choices we would make in such a situation. And why I like doing it like this, I like to bring history alive. Because I like when we look back at history, it's not just about dates and times and places, it's about people, isn't it? And the best way to really understand this is let's put ourselves in their shoes with their concerns, what they were thinking back in that time, what they had to work with, and see what we would have done. And we probably will come out of this thinking, yeah, they did a better job than we would have done on this one. Okay, so that's where we're traveling back to, but are you ready to get back in the time machine again? Okay, everyone back in the time machine, because we're going to go back a little further into history.
What year was the fire again?
This is 1877. So June 20th, 1877. So let's go back in our time machine. We are going to go back in the time machine. Yeah. Okay, so we're back in the time machine. We're going to go back 100 years, close to 100 years before the fire. So we're going to go to the Loyalist landing in 1783. And if you can indulge me on this, if anything that I say makes you feel that, ooh, that's sounding like a fire might be coming, if you could give me some audible, something like just like, ooh. Okay, if you can indulge me on this. Okay, let's go with the Loyalist landing in 1783. So these were the people who were loyal to the British, and we know how that worked out with the American Revolution. So they were exiled, they were sent on a ship, and the British said, hey, don't worry, we have this great city up north. It's called St. John, New Brunswick. You can move in, everything's going to be set up for you. Just, here's the keys, open your home, everything's going to be fine. So they arrive in the port of the harbor of St. John in 1783, and if I can paraphrase Sarah Frost. So she was one of the first loyalists. She wrote a diary, and here's paraphrasing Sarah Frost. She looks around, she goes, "You've got to be kidding." She was 8 months pregnant too, so she was like, "You got to be kidding!" And William, William, where are you? And what did you promise me? Okay, so she looked around. What did she see? That was basically it. It was Fort Howe and a couple of outbuildings, and then there were Simon's, Hazen, and White. They had some establishments here. I can just imagine their homes with someone knocking on the door and going, "Excuse me, do you mind if we stay?" And they go, "Well, I guess so. How many?" "Oh, 1, 2, 3, 10,000. So they had no place to stay, and where did they end up wintering that first winter? In tents, mostly in tents. Can you imagine a St. John winter living in tents? Like, I cannot understand that. So the next season, a lot of people died that first year. A lot of people went back to the United States going, "Oh, that whole thing about the Loyalist thing, I'm so sorry about that. We went to St. John, and we would like to come back." So, but other people stayed, and what they did is they started building a city. So what did they build it with? Well, they built it with wood, because wood was around, okay? And they had, that's not sounding good. Okay, so they built it with wood, and they built it really close together because they wanted to make sure everything was close. So a lot of wooden structures really made close together. And narrow streets, because they had to carve through that rock. You've seen that rock. They had to carve the streets through the rock, so everything was really close together, and no building codes. So you wanted a fireplace without a chimney? You got a fireplace without a chimney. Like, it's anything goes. So it's anything goes building, but again, it's not criticizing, because I would do the same thing. I just lived through in a tent the entire winter, so I do the same thing. Okay, so St. John is going, having a rough start to begin with, and that's a whole other story. But anyway, it had timber. So New Brunswick had timber, and thanks to the Napoleonic Wars, that actually worked out for St. John with the Continental Blockade. We started making something about ourselves. So we had this great timber. We started becoming a major port. And look at that. I find that remarkable. Within 40, 45 years of landing on a rock, they have built a city. And you will see things that that might look familiar, still standing, stone church. But what do we see here? Well, we see a bunch of wooden homes, all together, all really close together, with wooden roofs. And I tell you something about these wooden roofs, they were awesome. They were awesome for the legendary St. John rain. They were awesome for the legendary St. John snow, but they caught fire all the time because they were cinder catchers. Okay, so that's going on. Okay. Then innovation comes. Okay, so they had to cut a bunch of lumber course, for shipping, and they had to use the river system to power the sawmills. Innovation comes, so they come up with the steam-powered sawmills. And that was great because they had like these furnaces that would create steam in a side of sawmill with combustible materials all around. These things burn all the time. And if they weren't burning, they were launching cinders out of the smokestack into the city of St. John. Okay, so you see where this is going. Then shipbuilding came. So Britain again, let's bring them back into it. They gave us protective tariffs that really made things go well for St. John, and then they go, yeah, we're going to pull those away because we got some cheaper lumber coming from the Baltic states, so let's go there. So St. John was like, we're done. We're done. It was all about lumber, and we're done. Then someone came up with the idea of going, well, where's our timber going? Well, to in England. Where in England? The shipyards. To build ships. Okay, build ships. Why don't we build our own ships? So they came up with the idea of building their own ships, and they were good at it. And it wasn't like they were drawing talent from England going, oh, this is how you build a ship. We just had this natural ability to build ships. Like the Lynch, David Lynch, like he just had this natural ability. So we built the finest ships in the world, and this blows my mind every time, is at a point, St. John was the third largest city in what would be Canada. The third largest city, and then if you go anywhere in the world and you went to anyone, you go, name 3 cities in North America. They would go, oh, not a problem. New York City, Boston, and St. John. Like that's how big this city was. So there was wealth. That's Reed's Castle. That's Reed's Castle. It's really close to where the Irvings live now. So that was on Mount Pleasant. So you can see, like, wow, the money. Like this would be absolutely incredible. It burned down 1912, I believe. Everything burns down in this town. Okay, but that's Reed's Castle. Great wealth comes with it, but with great wealth comes great poverty. Okay, so there was a big divide between the merchant class and the working class, and they did not necessarily get along. There were some very heated labor disputes, and what was their weapon, or what was the weapon used by both sides for social injustice? Someone said it, I heard it, they just wanted to whisper it because they weren't sure, but what was it? Arson, yeah, fire, okay. Okay. Recap, wooden buildings built really close together, really susceptible to fire, and we have arson going on all the time. Okay, so then we have the streets of St. John. You can see like there were some nice buildings, wooden buildings, a lot of wooden buildings, but there were dirt roads. But what were the sidewalks made of? Wood! So it was like a fuse. It was like a fuse when there was a fire. It would just carry the fire right along. And then you might go, okay, well, you could never see 1877 happen. Now, the crew could have saw that happen because St. John never had a fire before 1877. Oh, yeah, they had 13 big fires. Like, this is what I would have written about. Okay, this would have been the Great St. John Fire of 1837, but it got eclipsed by the one that happened in 1877. Okay, but what did they do after these big fires? Did they go, well, we learned our lesson and stuff? No, they built bigger, closer together, still out of wood, and even some of the historic records said they weren't even structurally sound, let alone with fire prevention in mind. Okay, so this is not looking good. Everyone's going, okay, that's the harbor front, and that burned down so many times. But here's the thing, and this is very important thing for the presentation. Keep in mind, if we're going to survive the Great St. John Fire, is a fire never made it past the Bank of New Brunswick. The Bank of New Brunswick was indestructible. Everyone say it? Indestructible. Okay, yeah. The Bank of New Brunswick is indestructible. We'll see how that goes. Okay. So then, what is happening in 1878? So we're going around our time machine. We're stepping ahead to 1870. not great times in St. John. It turned again. Why? Steamships. Steamships started taking over the world, and what was St. John? Well, St. John was wood. Okay, it was about the best wooden sailing ships, and it did not have the capacity to make steamships, nor did the harbor wasn't able to bring in the big steamships. It wasn't suited for that, so we started getting left behind. And then worldwide depression, economic depression, known as the Long Depression, arguably lasted from about 1870 right to the end of the 1800s. Okay, so there were huge labor disputes again. So all of the gains that labor made, it was gone. So we're again merchants fighting with labor, labor fighting with merchants. Were there murders? Yes, there were murders. It was a really heated labor situation. So that's what we're going into. But then we go, 1877 happens. And people were like, this is going to be the year for St. John. I think we're starting to make a turn with the Depression. Things are looking better. This is going to be our year, 1877. Little did they know what was going to be happening in 1877. So we're going to be surviving the Great St. John Fire, and we got to make some choices on how we survive this. Okay, so I'm going to give you the situation, and you'll probably think I'm lying about this fact. As soon as I read it, I was like, no, this can't be true. So June of 1877, for the first 3 weeks, not a drop of rain in St. John, not even fog. Yeah. Liar! Yeah, not so 25 degrees days, like this was, so everything was getting baked under the sun. Uh-oh. Remember the wood and everything? Oh, yeah. Okay, so everything was tinder dry at the time, okay? So we have on June of 20th at 2:30 p.m., people go and there's a northwest breeze coming in. And they were like, oh, isn't that pleasant? Oh, a pleasant relief from the heat. Yeah, they wouldn't be saying that for long. Okay, because this is what happens. So you can see up here, that's the birthplace of the St. John fire, Henry Fairweather's warehouse. So we don't know what caused it. There's lots of theories. There's been theories of arson. There's been theories of discarded a match, spontaneous combustion, aliens, you name it. There's been theories on it. We don't know, but we know where it happened. So I want you to imagine this. This is right down by that electrical substation, is where the ground zero would have been. Okay, so we're at here, and you see a fire. So we're the workers at this. What would you do? You see a fire in hay bale, and this was not a hay warehouse, it was a coal warehouse. So it's burning in front of you, what would you do? Let's get some water. Okay, so we get some water, so you're going to be dumping water on it? Dump water on it? Not working. Ouch. Okay. Blankets was always a good idea, not working. And then this would have been, again, there's nothing in the historic record, but I'm sure that pitchforks and throwing it in the harbor is what I would have done. Anyone with me on that? Yeah, you got the harbor right there, pitchforks and things. Well, for whatever reason, we don't know if it was my pitchfork idea or maybe it might have been your water blanket idea, okay? It flew into the warehouse. So we're sitting there and going, uh-oh. Well, that didn't work out well. So we call the fire department. So there's a line that you could go, it would go up to Union Street, so you hit it, and it would send like a telegraph line up to the fire department. And, oh, this is turning bad really quickly, isn't it? This is turning really badly really quickly. But don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, because we have engine number 3. Engine number 3 from firehouse number 3 comes coming down the street. So we're going to go, oh yeah, this is going to be a short work of it. So St. John's were sitting around watching the show. They go, nothing like a good fire, right? Nothing like watching a good fire. We're like, oh, let's see them put this out. So the fire department comes down. They set up within 2 minutes of the alarm. They're down there. So 2 minutes from the alarm, they're down there. And so they attack the front of the building. They go, huzzah, we did it. Okay, and then it wrapped around the back of the building. Okay, well, we'll reposition, we'll get the back. Got that, and then it wrapped around the other side. And then it took the other building, and the other building, and the other building, and the other building, and started spreading. Okay, now we're in trouble now. So we got to make some choices. I'll ask you, if you were in that situation now, who would have just gone right up into the peninsula, like right off the peninsula? Who here would have just gone, I'm out of here? Yeah, so you would have been right out of there. Now here's the thing though, fires happen all the time, usually not a big deal. And remember, everything you owned and everyone you loved is down in the peninsula. So that's the big thing. So where would you have gone? You would have gone home. You would have gone home. That's where a lot of St. John's went. So we got to make some choices here. Okay? Who would have gone Smythe Street straight to the harbor? Nice little wrap around in front of North Market Wharf to the base of King Street and to safety. Raise your hand if that's the way you would have gone. You would have gone that way? Okay, I like that. Okay. Anyone else would have gone that way? Okay. Who would have gone Union Street? Look at the size of his estate. That was even like half the size of it. That's another story, right, Greg? That's another, okay, that's another story. Okay, who would go Union Street? Raise your hand. Anyone for Union Street? Okay, let's see how this goes for us. So you're coming to Smythe Street with me? Okay, so we're going to go to Smythe Street. So we're going to go down, and I hope you don't mind. Sorry, what's your name? Levon? Levon. Okay, so it's Levon and I. So we're going, it's Levon? Okay, good. So it's Levon and I, and we're going to be running down Smythe Street. So Levon, I just have a quick favor ask. I have a business right up there just below the fire. I just have to run in and get our money, our accounts receivable, mortgage. It will only take a minute. Can you come in and get those stuff with me? It's everything I ever worked for. Unlike today when we have computers and backups, if that burns, we're done. We're in business together.
But not your money.
That's your money too. We're business partners. So we make a deal. So just take a minute. So let's go inside. Let's go inside. Okay. You sure? We'll come inside with it. Okay, so we go inside and then we start just bagging everything up that we could. And guess what? I did it in less than a minute, 30 seconds. Huh? Are you impressed with me? Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. Okay, so then we exit our building, but it's not like when we went in. So day has turned to night. Okay, there's a black cloud over the entire area. So we're trying to see, and then we look up in the sky and oh, there's these beautiful glowing orbs falling down. Oh, aren't they pretty? Oh, they're catching everything on fire below, including the people. So people's hats are catching on fire. We got to get out of here. Are you with me? Yeah. Okay, so we got to get out of here. So we're running down. So here's me going, oh, I'm so sorry about going in there. And there's one there going, oh, you shouldn't have gone into that building. So we're running down, and then, whoa, smash right in front of us. There's a huge timber beam that starts going, and all this debris coming down on Smythe Street. And this is actually where one of the first people were killed in the Great St. John Fire. So all of this thing. So we're dodging things all the way, and I'm apologizing. So we should have gotten in for the money. But then we go, okay, we see at the end, Market slip. And we can see through the smoke now, and there's light. We're going to make it. We're going to make it. Then there's another thing that happens.
I told you not to let that go.
So sorry. So that's the other thing. So thousands of wharf rats. Okay, so there's rats. So with this, two things we know about rats. Yes, because they have a keen sense of danger, don't they? So if you ever see a lot of rats running in a direction, you run with the rats. Okay, you run with the rats, and they bite when they're scared. Okay, so we get down, we're going to be safe, we're going to be able to wrap around, and oh, the ships are on fire. And Mark had slipped, and what actually happened here is the fire flanked us. The fire flanked us. So while we were running down Smythe, it was going down here, and it cut off our route. Can you swim? I can't. Okay, I can't swim because you know what? A lot of people from that time, like swimming is a modern thing. Like a lot of people, they didn't have the luxury of taking swimming lessons and learning how to swim back then. A lot of people can't swim, but we're there. This is so cool being here. This is so cool being here. We are there. Fire's there. It's coming down on us. Wharf rats everywhere. We're on the edge. What do we do? What do we do? I don't want to jump. Did you see how high that is?
She's a pusher.
And how cold that was? So she does, and she pushes me in, and we go, ah, splash, and then we try to swim across the slip, and there's rats, the rat tails, and we're trying to dodge rats, and then you pull, and I'm trying to hold the sack up, remember? So, I'll let the sack, so I'm holding the sack, so we go to South Ward, and then we climb up there, and then we collapse on South Market Wharf, and then I'm going, oh, I'm so sorry for that, thank you for saving my life, I'm so sorry for that, and then we look up in the sky, and we just see like missiles going over our heads of things being launched, and what is going on? Well, we're going to find out in a second. That's what we do. That's keeping people. There we go. Okay, so that's the queen of the warehouse district. Okay, who picked Union Street? Okay,
I'm going to the marathon.
Okay, you're coming to Union Street with me? Okay. Can I ask you a favor? Would you mind coming up? I'll make this really easy on you. Okay, so if you could come up. Okay. So what's your name? Graydon. Okay, so it's Graydon and I, and there's actually a third person with us, okay? So we decided to go to Union Street away, but you see how the fire went, Graydon? It went really quick, and it started to climb Union Street. We got up to Dock Street, what is like St. Patrick's Street now, and we're covered by fire. Like there's fire all around, there's smoke blowing at us, I can't even breathe anymore, Graydon. So what do we do? The heat, we got to get out of here. And I go, there's a bakery. A bakery? There's a bakery. We got to get inside. And then what are you going to tell me? There's a fire too. And what's going to happen in that bakery? Yeah, that's going to catch on fire. But if we stay out here, we're dead. So guess what we do? Hopefully we just go away. You see, hopefully, you know your history. Yeah, that's well, that survived. Okay, we don't get there. So what we do is we run into the bakery. So let's say this is the bakery counter. Have a seat. We'll be, yeah, okay. So we just walked in. That was the door we just walked in, great. Okay, so we're sitting there panting. Can you pant this? That was some good panic, okay. So we're just looking at that door. We're terrified. We're looking at that door. We know the fire is going to go through that door at any time, and we're dead. Any last words? Very good last word. Do you want it on your gravestone? Sure. Okay. His last words was shit. Okay, so we're sitting there and there, and guess what? The fire does not come through the front door. It comes from the back. Okay, so it wraps around the back, so we're going to go for that door, aren't we? So we go for the door, try to open it, it is burning hot. So we go back, and then the fire's in the front now. So you make a couple attempts, 3 of us, and we're done. We're done. But then, wait for it. You get blasted. Like you get knocked off your feet. And I get knocked off my feet. I get punched in the gut. You get punched in the shoulder. And we think, well, this is how you die in a fire. Well, this is how it feels to die in a fire. But we feel, and it's like, it's wet.
Well, that's what we surprised.
Look behind you.
Oh,
Bless them. Number 3 company came to the rescue. So you crawl out, you're able to get out. I'm stuck there for a while. I crawl out and I finally just get one hand outside the door, and then I feel someone grab my hand, and we're all pulled to safety. So we survived. So thank you very much for coming up and doing the demonstration. Okay. So we survived that, but we're not done with Union Street in fire company number 3. So this is important. The fire is climbing up Union Street. What do we do? And the fate of the city, that part of the city is at stake. Okay, if it climbs up Union Street, there's a lot of residential up there, and the St. John fire would have been way bigger. Okay, so the firemen are battling this thing, and you can notice that they're no longer wearing their leather protective suits anymore. No, they had to get rid of those. It was either heat exhaustion or take those off. So they're using boards to try to battle it. It is so hot that the water is evaporating before it actually even gets on the fire. So they have to get so close to it. So they're done. And then there's like a movie moment. You can't write this. A movie moment. So they look down Union Street into the smoke, and they see some shadows. And then the shadows turn into forms, and they're people. They're the workers from the shipyard. And they come to battle the Great St. John Fire with the firemen. So they battle for the Battle of Union Street. And we can thank the Chipman Estate for its insanely large piece of property in the middle of St. John. But again, another story. It creates a fire break on that side. So everything is about protecting these brick buildings on Chipman Hill. And they started to burn, so the sashes started to burn and everything. And if the fire went inside those buildings would have collapsed. Okay? The firefighters and the workers, they climbed the buildings, they ripped the sashes off the windows, they did everything they could, and finally the fire relented. And they won the battle for Union Street. The Union Street saved. Yes! Yes, absolutely. Okay, then what is going on here? So I'm a lawyer and I know nothing. Someone applaud that. Yeah, lawyers know nothing, okay, but I know who to talk to about stuff. So I talked to some forensic fire investigators and some occupational hygienists who go, here's what's going on in the Great St. John Fire. There was explosions happening everywhere that spread this thing throughout the city. And goes, some of the people I was talking to go, oh, yeah, that's interesting. And I go, yeah, and the next day they thought they were going to die because of starvation because 60,000 barrels of flour were destroyed. And the person I was talking to did a spit take. I won't use spit take. Not the thing to do anymore. Okay, but anyway, so they go, oh, there's your explosion. There's your explosion. They go, so they told me, look for anything that was a coal warehouse or a flour warehouse. And I came up with it. So if you see, there's the blue is the flour, the red is coal. And what we had was dust explosions. So deflagration is the term for that type of explosion. So what happens is you try to burn flour, take a bag of flour, try to burn it, you won't be able to burn it. It doesn't burn. make it in the dust in the confined space, and then throw a match in it, you will get an explosion. Okay, so we have that going on. So, but this is the other thing that happens. You get an explosion, and the explosion kicks up more dust. And then, what do you get? You get that. You get secondary and tertiary explosions. So that's what ended up happening, because there was debris that was thrown around the entire peninsula. And just to give you an example, this is from 1978 in Minneapolis. This is a flower plant that exploded back there. And I wanted to get something of the period, because you can see this is a stone building with a wooden roof. And those were a lot of those buildings, those warehouses that we saw. So it kicked the force of the explosion straight up. Now, what did I say at the beginning about the wind? The strong wind. And then it blew it all through. So we got our explosion going. Okay, and then the city is suddenly burning in 12 places at the same time, with limited resources. So they weren't fighting just one fire anymore, they were fighting 12 different fires. Okay, so we got to make some choices on where to go. If you were back then, and you were in the Great St. John Fire, you're on the peninsula, who here would go to King Square? Who would go, yeah, King Square seems like a good place. There hasn't been much fires up that way. Nice open space. Who would go to King Square? Raise your hand if you go to King Square. Okay, you got some King Square people? Yeah, nice. Okay, who would go to Queen Square? Like, that is farther away from the fire. Anyone liking Queen Square? Someone's, if you're a rich person with a house there, you go there. There we go. And oh, there were rich people there. That was a rich area of town. Okay, who would go down to Reed's Point and try to get a boat? Remember the direction of wind's this way, so that's not looking like a bad option. Someone Reed's Point. Sure, take Reed's Point. Okay, you were taking Reed's Point. Okay, and then the other choice is, how about the waterworks right up there? So that's a nice open space, and it is not in the direction of wind. Everything should be good there. Waterworks, we can go up there, we can hide out, we can take all our property. Anyone want the waterworks? Okay, so the waterworks up there. Okay, so these are choices. Okay, let's go back to our bag of money, and sorry, it was Levon. Okay, so Levon and so I'm apologizing and stuff, and then I'm going, oh wow, we got to get off this wharf really quickly because it's burning. Okay, so South Wharf caught on fire. So we got to deposit that bag at the bank at New Brunswick. Are you with me? I know about the thing before. I really am, but are you with me? It's just down Prince William Street. We get it to the bank in New Brunswick. Did you know it's invincible? It's indestructible. It's never fallen into any fire before. So can we do it? So I use my powers of persuasion. Okay, fine, we'll make a quick stop. So we go down, and they're still accepting deposits right to the last minute. Okay, so we deposit our bank along with their $30 million worth of property, money in the vaults of the New Brunswick bank. And you might go, $30 million today, money? Oh no. $30 million back then, which is the better part of $1 billion. Okay, the Bank of New Brunswick was a bank. It was big. Like, it was a big bank, and it was a very rich bank. Okay, so we go in, we go in. So we go in, we get the deposit, we're high-fiving, we're going there, and then you go, yeah, Greene, you probably were right with that. Okay, yeah, okay. And then I go, don't look this way. Don't look this way. And you're like, well, why wouldn't I look that way? Well, we look down Prince William Street, and we see the fire wrap around at the head of Prince William Street down by Market Square, and then it starts marching down the street toward us. Okay, let's see what happens. So that's Market Wharf. That's where the lawn is staging. Thank you very much again for that. Okay, and then we're going. First thing though, there was one telegraph line out of St. John to call for help. It was the Western Union, and that's all that was left of it. So that's our one way to call for help and say St. John is burning, and it's just burned down. It's not done. There's the post office, built a year before the Great Fire. Didn't fare well, and oh, I'm so sorry. It was indestructible. The indestructible bank, the front looked real good from the front. But yeah, the Bank of New Brunswick was really strong in the front, not so strong in the back of it. And guess where the fire went? Through the back. And then the customs house went down next. Okay, who were my people going? And then we got to get out of here. I'm looking now. Let's get out of here. Okay, you finally up. Let's get out of here. But money be down. Okay, so we're going down. We're going up King Street. So what is happening on King Street? So who are my King Street people? Where is that? Yeah. So so we're going up King Street though to get there. Okay. So it's David and I, and we're going to go up to King Square, but we have everything we own in a horse cart, okay? Because we pile everything we own. So we got this. This is really important. We get this horse cart up, but David, there's no horses. We have to carry this by hand. We have to wheel a horse cart by hand up King Street Hill. You know it's a little steep. Yeah. Okay. So are you with me on this? Okay, so you're pushing. Yeah, well, we're both trying this, okay? So we're pushing, we're pulling, and 1, 2, 3, in. 1, 2, 3. That's not moving. That's not moving. So we talk and go, yeah, it's all out. But not everyone was like David and I, okay? So not everyone was like us. Some people tried, and there were almost lines up King Street Hill horse carts, depending upon your determination or stubbornness. I'm not sure. Okay, so some people made it up to a little bit past Market Square. Okay, and then some people even made it all the way to Germain Street. Nobody supposedly made it all the way to King Square with it. Okay, but then what starts happening? So this is our flight from up King Street. So there's thousands of people going up King Street. And guess what David and I ended up doing? Not intentionally, David. It wasn't our intention. Made obstacles for the thousands of people trying to get up, make it harder to get up the street. Oops. Yeah, we were trying, right? We're non-intentional. So we go up there, and we're going, and then a weird thing happens as we're doing a somewhat orderly run up King Street. The fire comes bursting out of Canterbury Street and Germain from the other side. So it wrapped around. So it entered the south side of King Street from those streets. Whoa, it's time to run, right? Right, David? You with me? It's time to run. Now, what do? Do we go close to the buildings? They're on fire, but the wind is pushing the fire away. But the middle of the street, that is crowded. What do we do, David? Middle of the street or close to the buildings? More to the left. Go to the left. If we were on that southern side, would we stay close to the buildings or go to the center of the country? Close to the buildings. You just died. Two people actually died because the cornices started falling off of the buildings and hitting people. So center of the street would have been the way to go. There was a crush up this street, and then, whoa, did that ever turn? Did that ever turn on the south side? So the south side of the street is gone, but then it started making its march up the north side. So it kept on going and going and going. They thought the Allison. And we're looking at this, so let's pretend we're looking at this, and let's make some jokes about what they're doing on the roof. So we're looking at this, and we're going, there's no chance. This building is going to fall down. It's sandwiched in. And look at the guys on the roof. They are putting rugs on the roof from their rug department. Ooh, yeah, that's going to stop the Great St. John fire. And then they're dousing it with water, and then they're putting more rugs and dousing it with water. Guess what? It works. It works, and it actually stops the St. John fire right there. And that's why we have the city market today that was built a year beforehand. Because thanks MRA. Like it saved the north side of King Street Hill. Okay.
Any idea where they got that water?
They had huge buckets of it, so I don't know if they saw it coming and prepared for it and brought it in. And it was logistically, it would have been like incredible trying to get all these rugs on the roof, getting all the water and everything. But they had a system down that it was like barrel after barrel was brought up the stairs and rug after rug hoisted up. So it was quite a system. But how they did it and whether they knew it, I don't know. So we'll see. But look at this. This is incredible. Before, after. Before, after. Before, after. Okay, that's the base of King Street. The head of King Street. Before, after. Before, after. And you can see the lamppost, same lamppost. Okay, that is just desperate. Okay, we look down Germain Street. Oh, what a beautiful theater this was. The Academy of Music. It could hold 1,000 people. Such great shows would be performed at. Oh, did it ever burn nicely? With the theatrical sets, oh, they burned. But guess what? The actors were able to save their costumes. So they got the costumes out and got them out on the street. Then the thieves took it. So we have that going on in the Great St. John fire. There's thievery happening everywhere. So you're rescuing property, it's being stolen as you're rescuing it. So you see how this is really coming together? Like as just like again, you can't write this stuff. Okay, this is St. Andrew, the Church of St. Andrew, the kirk. And you can see the before and after. And then, oh wow, the Victoria Hotel. The Victoria Hotel. So this was considered the most beautiful hotel in the Dominion, bar none. It was 6 stories. It had a steam-powered elevator. In 1870, a steam-powered elevator. It had running water to each room. It had 2 rooms. It had running water going to it. And it burned. And it burned like everything else. And you can see like that was all that was left of the finest hotel in the Dominion.
What street was that?
Germain and Duke, corner of Germain and Duke. Take a look at that and like look up way up and think about how impressive that would have been at the time. And this is the Germain Street Baptist Church, and that burned as well. They tore down the old Germain Street Baptist Church a little bit before, 7 to 10 years before, because it was made of wood. And they go, well, we better make this out of brick so it won't burn down. Well, it actually burned one time before the Great St. John fire as a brick building. And as well, the brick lasted, didn't it? That was beautiful. Nothing inside, because everything was wood, but that's a nice looking brickwork. That's kind of become the iconic image of the Great St. John fire. It's just like, isn't that haunting? Like when you just see that in the moonlight with all the rooms around and then something that resembles a church. It's such a haunting image. Okay, now it's time to go Queen Square. Who's going to Queen Square with me? Okay, Greg, you're with me on Queen Square. Okay, great idea because it's way away from the fire. And we have some rich friends, Greg. We have some rich friends. So we asked, can we put our stuff into your home, into your mansion? And we said, oh, yes, quite. Come on in. So we go into Queen Square, loading our stuff. Now, the people that didn't have rich friends like Greg and I, so they were just dumping it in Queen Square. So there's big piles of everything that they owned, but it was way away from the fire. or was it? Okay, the fire starts creeping in, and there was a story of a boy who's looking, a 5-year-old boy looking out his grandfather's window, and he's just frozen stiff, looking at the flames, and I can just imagine his face turning orange with the light of the fire. And then until he says these words, "Papa, oh Papa, God is burning down the world, and he will not build another. He will not create another. He will not create another." And he just went out and said over and over and over again. And he just froze in fear, and he did not come out of that state until he was well away from the fire. But this thing, it started wrapping it. Okay, it started wrapping it. So Greg and I are down here, so all that effort to put all that stuff in house, we're trying to get it out of the house as quickly as possible. Okay, so we're doing the reverse quick, but it's, you can see it's really gaining on us. So there was a man by the name of Robert Monroe. So he was working York Point the entire time, fighting the fire down there. So he was exhausted at this point. So he was absolutely exhausted. He collapses on the ground and goes, "Okay, finally, after all these hours, I can breathe." Kind of, it's a little smoky, but I can breathe, I can take a breather. Then he hears a scream going, "My baby, my baby." And he looks up, and there's a mother at the base of a building that's on fire, looking up to a second-story window. And screaming, "My baby's in there, and it's on fire." And guess what Robert Monroe does? He scales the side of the building and goes into the window where the smoke is billowing out. And I can't imagine what it would have been like for the mother. I can't imagine that. But so Robert Monroe disappears into the smoke, and she's just looking at him, just going, "I don't know what's happening. I don't know, will my baby live through this? Will my baby live?" And then after a minute, she saw a hand come out, and then followed by a baby in the arms of Robert Monroe. And the baby was crying. And those must have been the sweetest sounds that mother has ever heard. When you heard that the baby heard the baby's cries and knew the baby was alive. So Robert scales down the building, reunites mother and child, and then looks around and goes, "Okay, I'm in trouble." Because while I was doing that, we just got wrapped by the fire. So what they did is there were about 3 of them left. They built a little makeshift shelter out of some a kitchen table, anything that they could find, and they went under that. The fire kept on beating and beating and beating, and then they heard some unusual sounds, and it was thud, 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 thud. And they look out, and it's birds dropping dead from the sky. Because what happened in Queen Square, there was a heat vortex that came up from all the flames, and it started killing all the birds in the sky, and they were dropping. And then all the trees in Queen Square ended up burning, and they go, "We got to get out of here." So everyone goes, we'll die if we stay here. We got to all go our separate ways and get out of there. Now you'll probably ask this: did they live? Huh. Yeah. Yeah, you asking that? I thought you would ask that. We don't know. That's where the story ends in the historic records, but what we do know is they were not listed amongst the dead. So I'm assuming that they did make it out of Queen Square somehow. Okay, let's go to Reed's Point. Who's my Reed's Point people? Okay, you're my Reed's, and your name is? Bonnie? Okay, so Bonnie and I go down to Reed's Point. That is the Marco Polo cruise ship terminal, around there. So we're at Reed's Point, okay? So when we go down there, it's not what we expect. There's a party going on. There's thousands. You picked the party spot in St. John. So there's a party going on. Thousands of people. They're not trying to escape. Booze going everywhere. Everyone is cheering on the Great St. John Fire. And you go, well, isn't that a horrible thing? But remember, we are in a huge labor dispute at the time. So it was the workers saying, yeah, good on you. Look what you did to us. Look all your property going on. So you kind of have to understand motivations at the time. Because I know with Stewart's book, he was like, oh, I can't believe people were doing this. But it's like, yeah, looking back at it, you know what, putting it into context, you can imagine like these groups were not getting along. So they were having a party down there, so that's fine. I'm not into having a party right now, Bonnie, are you? Okay, so you're not stopping for a drink? Okay. So here's what goes on. Everyone's partying, but here's what happens. We notice, Bonnie, some barrels of kerosene. You can't write this. Okay, so these patches of kerosene, and the fire is bearing down on them. So Bonnie, you and I notice and go, wow, okay, we got to get these into the harbor, right, Bonnie? So we got to throw them in the harbor so the fire won't. Come on, give it a try. Come on with me. Okay, I'll do it myself out. Oh, that's not moving. That's not moving. Okay, so we tried to elicit some of our fellow St. Johners. Fellow St. Johners, over here, could you help us, please? The kerosene. If the fire catches on the kerosene, then all of you will be dead. Thousands will be dead. Will you help us? And they were like, nah. Some took our money, Bonnie, so we offered to pay them $3 a piece if they helped us with the barrels, and they go, okay, we'll take the money. Why didn't you say so? Why would if you told us you were going to pay us, we would have done it. And then they go, yeah, that's not moving. Okay, so we got a problem, Bonnie. Thousands of St. Johners are in our hands, and we look out into the harbor. I love this. I love doing the presentation. Okay, look out in the harbor. Guess what you see? A steam-powered tugboat. And what does a steam-powered tugboat have? A steam-powered water cannon. So we're going, Bonnie, waving, going to the tugboat captain. Hey, over here. We got rum, and we got kerosene. Deal with the kerosene, we'll get you the rum afterwards. Yeah. Okay, so we're going, we're waving, and then the tugboat captain sees the danger, aims the cannon, blasts the kerosene barrels right into the harbor, and crisis averted. So way to go. But we got to get out of here, Bonnie. We still have to get out of here. I'm not feeling safe. Wow, look at that. Look at that. So we got a problem, Bonnie. The boats are gone. So all we have are these rafts, these wooden rafts that are floating out there. So there's a group we noticed. Look out of the harbor, Bonnie, and there's a group, and there's men and women swimming a raft across the harbor to the west side. But there's only 2 people on top. And it's like, why aren't everyone on top? Well, there's not 2 people on top. There are 3 people on top, because in the middle of the Great St. John Fire, in the middle of the St. John Harbor, a baby was born. Oh. Wow. And both mother and father, the father might have been one swimming, but mother and child survived, which is an absolute miracle at the best of times back then, right? So in the middle of St. John Harbor. So we go on, and we get on a raft, and we're on, and guess what? The current starts floating us out to sea. And we're going to get lost to sea. But Bonnie is brilliant. Love Bonnie. Everyone needs to love Bonnie. What Bonnie does is she stands up in the raft and starts waving her hands again. And the light from the city, the fire is so bright, it starts casting a light on Bonnie waving, and a schooner sees Bonnie, and we're rescued before we get out there. Yeah. Bonnie, everyone. Bonnie, yeah. Okay. So that's Reed's Point afterwards. Okay. So the Reed's Point, it was fine where the people were, but that's what they had to come out of, and you can see the Three Sisters lampposts before. And
like floating in the harbor, like bombs.
But they were away from the fire, and they didn't explode. Yeah, they blasted them in, and they didn't explode. But if they had stayed on the wharf, then with the fire bearing down, it would have been a major explosion. And then, like, can you imagine the thousands of people? Like, we wouldn't be talking about 19, we'd be talking about thousands. But we got more, and I'm cognizant of time. So we got city burning. That's from West Side. So the West Siders were helping people across as they were crossing the harbor. And how bright was this thing? Like, how big was the Great St. John Fire? Well, guess what? It could be seen from Moncton. It could be seen from Fredericton. They could see the glow in the sky. And it was seen by people, St. Johners returning by train. And they heard about the Great St. John Fire as they were going, and then they get to Moncton, and then they see it. Can you imagine that next couple hours going towards St. John with knowing, like, everything I own, everyone I love is under there, and there's nothing that would have been the slowest, most painful trip ever, seeing that coming and seeing the destruction. Okay, we're at King Square, David. We made it. We made it. We don't have our stuff, okay, but we have our lives, okay? So we're at King Square, and so is thousands of St. John's. Are up at St. John at King Square, and it is being used as a hospital, a makeshift hospital at the time, and a makeshift morgue. So that's where the dead are being brought up to in King Square. So there's thousands of people there, and there's piles of everything that they own. And so people were protecting, of course, their piles, so they would stand in front of the pile of their stuff, and as they were standing in the front, thieves were stealing from the back. So they were fighting that, but then the St. John Hotel, or the United States Hotel as it was called at that time, it catches on fire. And then it starts burning, so we're doing another wrap like it happened at King Square. So there's thousands of people here now. David, is this a good choice? I don't know, let's find out. Then there's the bell tower, okay? That is sitting at the top of King Street Hill. So that was to warn of things like fires. Okay? Isn't it a beautiful stone building or still stone structure? Isn't that a beautiful stone structure? Yeah, it wasn't stone. It was made of wood and painted to look like stone. It caught on fire. So it caught on fire and everyone just froze. It was supposedly silence throughout King Square as they're watching. You got to be kidding. The fire bell is on fire. Okay, and then the silence is ended by the final clang as the fire bell smashes through the structure into the fire, and then the screams happen as it starts wrapping. And then you can see the firehouse, which is still standing, and the courthouse. Well, behind the courthouse is the jail. So they go, well, geez, the fire's coming, and we have prisoners in here. We don't want them to burn alive in the cell. We got to let them out. And then we had 3 prisoners use the opportunity to escape. Okay? Can we pretend that you 3 are our criminals? Okay. So you guys run out of there. You go, go so long, see ya, sucker. So you guys run out, and then I'm Sheriff Rankin, and I'm going, you get back here in the name of the law, and you guys are out there. And then a little time passes, and then you guys come back, and you go, I am so sorry for that. Did you know St. John's on fire? There's no water, there's no food. Please take us back. Please take us back into custody. But that was a big jailbreak of the St. John fire. Didn't go well for them. Didn't figure out one thing. That's through, okay? Okay, so we it ends up, and here's the miracle of King Square. King Square is that it stopped at the fire station. That's where it stopped. It didn't wrap around. And supposedly there was no additional effort. You might go, well, the firefighters were trying to protect their home. No additional effort. It just stopped there. And then because of MRAs, it didn't wrap around the other side, so everyone in King Square was safe. So excellent choice, Mr. Goss. Did you know the story before, sir? Okay, so now we have the water station, okay? So this is where, who said the water station was a great idea? So someone, yeah, right, yeah, and then you realize you're trying to sucker us in. Okay, because it should have been a good idea, shouldn't it have been? Absolutely, because of why? It was upwind of the fire and way away. Like this was the closest fire burning. It's upwind. Okay. Let's go in a little closer and whoa, there's a fire way away from the original fire upwind. Arson. There was a second St. John fire lit. So they never caught the person. They don't know why, but it was in Stewart's book that St. Johners had no doubt because of the place that it was lit and all that it was arson. So what did that do? Well, that doomed the east side of the peninsula, which may have been saved. So Victoria School, oh, that was a beautiful school. This was a movie moment too. So people were around Victoria School, and they go, oh, this is a big brick building. It's not going to succumb. It'll be fine. And then they're looking at this, and all of a sudden the fire goes inside, and then all at the same time, all the windows blew outward. And rained glass down on everyone, and they go, I don't think it's going to. This is time to go nowhere. So they end up taking off, then it goes to Wigan's orphanage. So it spares nothing, not even an orphanage. But we got a bigger problem. The gas works. So now it's going down to the gas works. So St. John had gas back then. So the mountain of coal ends up catching on fire. That's not a big problem. Okay, it burns, and it burns a long time, and it actually burns for the next 8 days. But what was the problem was the tanks, over 100,000 feet of gas. And if those had exploded, that wouldn't be the deflagration as we were talking about with flour. That's a detonation. That would have gone supersonic. And that would have wiped out St. John right away. Like that would have been one of those supersonic detonations. So Robert Britton was the manager of the gas station, and he neglected his own personal property, and we don't know exactly how he did it, but we assume that he released the valves and released the pressure on these things, and he saved St. John. And his own property burned down, which was completely uninsured. And I hope that the city of St. John took up a purse to help him with that, because he did save so many hundreds, possibly thousands of lives. That's the gas station afterwards, and I find this so incredible. That's actually the last of the St. John fire on film. So that is the coal still on fire 8 days later. That was on Carmarthen, and what was it? St. James, thank you. Carmarthen and St. James. Okay, and then there's the military base. So that went down. The only thing standing is the ordnance building. It was gutted. Roof went down, but it still stands today. So you can see it withstood the St. John fire. And then it didn't end until it hit Tin Can Beach. Okay, so it hit the water, and the descriptions from the eyewitnesses, they said it burned at every shrub, every blade of grass. It was like the fire was alive and it did not want to die. And it even seemed like the ocean was on fire. That's how fierce this was. But then 9.5 hours after the Great St. John fire started, it died out. Wow. Like, look at the extent that was on fire, and that's the aftermath. The day was hot. The night was cold. And there's 13,000 of us now without homes. In the bitter cold of a St. John night. No water, no food. And this is where survival began. So here's some of the depictions of the Great St. John fire afterwards. Wow, look at that. Look at the devastation of the peninsula, and all those ships are in there. They're burned out hulls. Like it destroyed ships in the harbor as well. They all caught on fire. That's Princess Street Hill. So that's me and Lavon. And she's still going, why did you do that? And I'm sorry, how many times? How can I make this up to you? So we're up there. So they had to use landmarks, like everything was indistinguishable. So they had to use landmarks, like what they could go, oh, well, that's a Victoria Hotel, so I know that I'm on the corner of Germain and Duke, but to try to navigate around. And the public hospital, that was on Waterloo, and it survived fire, of course, but it got so flooded with the injured that they couldn't even keep records. They couldn't even keep records, so we don't know exactly the extent of the injuries on this. And this one is incredible. So after, remember where the Loyalists began? In tents? Almost 100 years later, where are they back to? Living in tents on a barren rock. Okay, can I make this worse? Can I make it worse? Yes. Yes, I can make it worse. Because guess what happened the morning up? It rained. It poured. One day late to save this, but one day on to add to the misery of the people of St. John. And I watched, or I read the transcripts of some of the sermons that happened on Sunday after the Great St. John Fire, and you can see a theme coming from all the ministers and the priests. It's like, no, St. John is not damned. This is not the hand of God. What this is the hand of our politicians for not having building codes. So that's when the debate really started on, we got to have building codes. But here's some of the miracles that happened. Remember I said the Western Union, it burned down, so the only line out of town, it burned down. But the operators were able to save the equipment. And then they ran to the train station, which did not have the equipment, but it had a telegraph line. They hooked it up, and while the fire was burning, they sent a cry for help. St. John's on fire, and the next day it's in the papers all over North America and soon all over the world. It's what happened in St. John, and the world answered the call for help. And trains started coming in with supplies, with food, medicine, tents. Even children around the world started to do collections of toys and books to help their children at St. John through this tragedy. So it just really resonated with the people all over the world. And then the military came in. Because remember that lawlessness I was talking to you about? Yeah, so they had to get that under control. And here's the ironic thing, and please no one thank them for this, but the thieves actually saved a lot of people's property. They do not deserve to be thanked. I want to make that perfectly clear. Don't thank the thieves. Okay, but what they did is before the fire came down on the house, they would go in and they would steal stuff. And then a lot of it was later recovered, most of it, as the story goes, was recovered later on in West St. John or on schooners. And they actually, if the thieves hadn't stolen it. How do you deal with that from a moral perspective? Like, how do you go, thank you, you son of... Yeah. Okay, and then it was the lost treasure. So what time we're sitting at? We're okay. Okay, so the lost treasure. And the first thing, the children. Okay, so remember, there's no cell phone, there's nothing, there's no way to communicate. So there were children all over town running around going, I don't know if my parents are alive, I don't know. And the parents are running around frantic going, where are my kids, where are my kids? So the city started to make a list and gather all the kids together and then try to figure out, okay, where do you live, who are your parents, and try to reunite the families. And they reunited most of the families, but there were 38 children who were given the horrible news that their mother and father did not make it. And they were taken in by Boston, orphanage in Boston. But yes, so that was the people. And then Lavon. That's us. That's you. That's you. That's me. And I'm going, sorry again. Okay, so we're outside the Bank of New Brunswick. Okay, the day after, and then there's work being saved. And they said, many say, without that miracle, St. John would never have recovered from this. Okay, and then there was in the insurance. So there was some insurance, but you had two types of insurance. One might be with a London company, which would have been fine, but then a lot of people took their insurance out in companies in St. John that had universal losses, and they didn't see a penny of that insurance money. So it depends. And then the rebuild. So that's the custom house being rebuilt, and that was one of the first buildings to be rebuilt thanks to federal government money. And then within 5 years of the Great St. John Fire, St. John is back, more beautiful than ever, and built differently this time. And that was because of the Great St. John Fire in September of 1877. There was an emergency meeting of the legislature to pass, for the first time ever, building codes in the province of New Brunswick. So no, you couldn't just build everything you wanted, any way you wanted. So that's why we end up seeing in our fire districts nowadays, you see the stone, you see the brick, you see the flat roofs. You don't see wooden fixtures anymore around the windows and stuff like that. So, like, they go, this is not going to happen again here, but then it happened in other places in St. John. But that's another story. That's another story. But in St. John, it didn't come back. So, just to wrap things up, so what we have is we have today. So, what can we see today from the Great St. John Fire? Well, that's the birthplace of the Great St. John Fire. We can take a walk down there. A little wet today, but you can see the great where it all began. We have that disputed artifact in King Square, whether it is, whether it's not. It's a great story. Hate to have the truth get in the way of a great story. But the metal from that was forged in the furnace of the Great St. John Fire. And then there's engine house number 2 and the courthouse still standing to this very day. The Homes to Save Union Street on Chipman Hill, still standing. The Customs House. Oh, it was beautiful. It was considered one of the greatest custom house in the empire at the time, and they said it would stand for centuries. Yeah, it was demolished in 1960, but you can still see it today, the remnants, in Shelton's Point walking trail along the side. See some of the finest 19th century carvings sitting with moss growing over it. The door of Duke Street. So the building burned down, but the door survived, and they built the house around the door. So the original door. Reed's Point is that's Reed's Point back. That's Reed's Point today. The City Market we can again thank for MRA's miracle, and the Ordnance Building as well. That you can see that right in the background of the tents, and still standing today. And then St. John's Stone Church, St. John's Stone Church. And that has been looking over our city for the last 200 years, close. Like, it's seen everything. It's seen the city rise, it's seen it fall, and it's seen it rise again. I hope that will always be a part of our history, that we can always look up at that and be, that's our protector. That is the one that has overseen us through our history. So you'll see, we're not at the beginning, because I know the time and Greg's going, we can't be at the beginning, no, but we're at the beginning, because I'm telling you this, is the story of St. John is not over, is it? It's not over, we're just getting started, okay? Everything you do becomes history. And I can't tell you, like, sometimes you hear people saying, oh yeah, St. John's done, we'll never get back. But St. John has been written off so many times, it's not funny. And it always finds a way. It always finds a way. And I believe in this city that it will find a way. But what is so beautiful about this city is how it cares about its history. How it cares about the history and how important history is, and especially how important stories are. Because why are stories so important? Well, buildings will come and go, won't they? They can be wiped out in 9.5 hours, like we've seen in the Great St. John Fire. They might make it or succumb to the wrecking ball. But what never needs to die is stories. And as long as we keep our stories alive, And what we were, what we are, and what we will be will remain. Every one of you has a story in you. And you might not think it's very important of a story. You might think it is, but you have so many beautiful stories inside your mind. And what happens if they stay inside your mind? What happens to those stories? They go with you. What happens if you get them down on paper? They survive, and that is communicated to other generations of who we were. It's funny, I was doing some research on Hamilton, on something that happened in Hamilton, and I found a little entry about a Sunday school picnic on an island. Someone wrote about a Sunday school picnic that happened 100 years ago. And at the time, what would they have thought? No, it was a Sunday school picnic. I just wrote it down. But I looked at it and I go, wow, I could really get a feel for everything that people were, what was important to them. And this is what you can do. I'll ask you this. Anyone here has had someone say, stop telling those stories over and over again? I'm tired of hearing about those stories. If you tell me that story one more time, anyone? Besides David Goss and Greg. Come on, that your spouse has said that stop telling those stories. Raise your hand.
Hey, let's go like that.
Do they? Well, guess what? You just won yourself a book called Cherished Memories. Okay, this is by Raymond Pierce. And this is a story, but just little stories, fun little stories, lighthearted about the 50s, 60s, and 70s in St. John, New Brunswick. And I read one story every single night to my 10-year-old daughter. She loves it, and it's just comforting. And I really urge you, everyone here, to write down your history. Keep it. Share it with your family, and make sure that those things are remembered, because the old adage comes to mind: if we're only dead when we're forgotten. And if we're never forgotten, we will never die. So thank you very much, and I want to say this. Thank you for welcoming me back. I've been away from St. John for 25 years. I didn't know the reception I would get coming back after 25 years. But you've proven the adage, once a St. Johner, always a St. Johner. So thank you for your support over the last.
Thanks, folks. Comes back and it's very dynamic, and I think everyone really enjoyed this. We're going to have the string quartet